Hello guys and welcome to part 5 of this forum software series. Today we are going to finish the user system by logging in users. However, first I have a comment to make on the previous video. I made an error there in the user controller, so if you open that up and go to the post create, here it says input get password. Now this should be pass1. The reason why we still got a hash is because, well, it's if input doesn't exist, the input doesn't exist that you're trying to get, it will return an empty string, which is also hashable. Somebody pointed that out in the comments, and I thank them for that. I re-uploaded the video with a comment stating that that should be true, but if you missed that, this is what it's supposed to be. Okay, now let's get going with the signing in of users. First, we're going to create the view for the form. So in the user folder in views, create a new file and call it something like login.blade.php. And I'm just going to copy this entire block from the register blade and paste it in this form over here. Now, the only thing we want to change is we want to remove this form group with the confirmation password, but we do want to add one thing, and that is another div with a class of form group. Just do that, and we're going to add a checkbox to remember the user. So to do this, I'm going to get a label for remember, and inside this label I'm going to add the checkbox. Input type is equals checkbox, name equals remember, ID equals remember, and the class is a form control. And change this value to login. And I think that should be it. This should be login. Very well, very good. Login. And that should be fine there. Oh, we want to do this to post login because we don't want to create a user, but we want to log somebody in. Very, very well. Now let me check if we set up this view in the user controller again. Here, get login. We don't want to return a string. We want to return the view. So view make user.login. And if we just open up our page here, don't mind this, that was something else, and do /user/login, we get an error. Post login is not defined. Oh, right. Have we not set that up in the routes? Let me check that. Oh no, we forgot to set that up as a named route. So let's do that now. User controller at post login. Okay. Post login. Copy that. Paste that here. Paste. Now while we're at it, we're also going to add this route here or make it a named route because that's a lot more convenient. So uses get login. Awesome. Now this should work. Cool. We have our field. And we don't have our thingy here showing up. Let me just check why that is. So views, and then why is that not showing up? Sorry. Login.blade. Is that not the correct thing to do? Oh, right. Okay. I think then this should let's just try this check box and remove this class. Oh well, it works, I guess. What now if we just do check box like that? Oh no. Okay, never mind. Leave it like this, and of course add the label, which is remember me. Stupid that I forgot that. Oh, and we want to get rid of this class over here. Otherwise, it's going to look weird. Checkbox. Excuse me for the bell there. So, remember me. Awesome. Now, to get this to post to data, we want to go to user controller and post login, which handles login from form data. So, one sec guys, I'll be right back. Somebody's at the door. Okay, we're back. Sorry for that. Now, to log the user in, we again want to make sure that their input is valid so that they don't do any crazy stuff. However, since it is matched against data in the database, we don't have to look at what they're putting in. We just want to make sure that they have entered something. So we're going to create a new validator. New validator make, and then inputs all, and then the array. It works the same way as up here. We just want to make sure that we validate everything, but this time we only want to make sure that they have these things here. Just make sure that they have something. We don't have to make sure that it's long enough or too long, anything like that. So username required, stupid autocomplete, and pass1 required. Awesome, that's the validator. Now if the validator fails, yes, thanks, I want to return a redirect route to get login, and I want to do that with the errors from the validator and with inputs. Now this for the same reason as for the create. If something is wrong with what they put in, then we want them to show that in a nice way. So that's what these blocks are for again. Else they have good input, we have to get the remember. I'm just going to store that in a variable, so remember is equal to input has remember, and I'll explain this once I've done typing this. True, false. Okay, so what does this say? Well, basically it says if there is an input with a name of remember, which is this checkbox here, then remember is equal to true. So this variable here will have the value of true. Else it will have the value of false. And it's important to note here that with a checkbox, if it's not checked and you submit the data, then there will not be a field in the post data with that name. If you have checked it, however, then there will be a field with that name. So you can, to check if a checkbox was checked in a form, you just have to make sure that the input existed. So now to authenticate a user, we are going to use the Laravel built-in authentication. And the way we do this is we do auth attempt and we will pass this an array with the credentials, so to say. So we want to make sure that they are only logged in if the username equals, well, input gets username, and the password equals input gets pass1. No semicolon there. So this is your authentication. Now, to make sure that Laravel remembers the user, we want to pass in remember as a second parameter here. So the attempt method takes an array and a boolean. The array is what to log in with, and the boolean is should I remember that user. Now, by default, that is false, but now it depends on if the checkbox was checked or not. So, simple if statement, if auth, so if they're logged in, the session was set, etc. We're going to return a redirect, and this time we're going to redirect intended. Yes. Now, we're going to do that to home. Now, what this does, this redirect intended, is when, for example, a user hits a route here, and that route is only accessible to users who have logged in. So instead of their guests, they have to be logged in. If they're not logged in, then Laravel is going to redirect them to the login page, and it will store the location of where the user wanted to go in a session. So then what the user does is, okay, they can log in, and this redirect intended will then check if there is a session set with a specific route, and if it is, then it will guide the user to that page. If there's not, it will just return to the home page. So that's what redirect intended does. If you just want to always redirect them to the home page, you would just use redirect route, of course. So if they're not logged in, we want to return a redirect, this time to a route, and I'm going to do get login, and then with a parameter, or not success, fail, you entered the wrong login credentials. Please try again. Very simple. Now we do have to make sure that that message can be displayed on here. So let me just go to hello.play.php and copy over this if statement and paste that over here with a tab. There. Awesome. So now in the home page, of course, I want to make sure that we can see if I'm logged in or not. How do we do that? Well, let's go to, well, for one, we can close out of these, and I'm going to open hello.play.php. So open that, and I'm going to open the home controller. In here, let me just, since we have a little time left, I'll start to prepare also for the next parts, and I'm going to create a nav bar so that you can get around and it's also easy to see if you're logged in or not. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we want to use, of course, Bootstrap doing this, and I am just going to copy in a, oh well, no I won't, because that's going to be a pain in the butt for you guys, so I'll just type it out as well. So first we want a div with, how do we want to, no, we don't want to do this in here. We want to do this in master, so every page has the nav bar. So in layouts master, above the content section, I want to add a div with a class of navbar. Inside here, I want to have a div with a class of container, which makes sure that the content is centered a little bit. Then you want a div class navbar header, and inside here a button with a type of button, a class of navbar toggle, a data toggle of collapse, and a data target of .navbar responsive collapse. Then let me just scroll back over. Inside here, a span with a class of icon bar, and copy that 3 times. This is going to be when Bootstrap recognizes that the page gets less wide than a certain width, it will collapse the navbar into a button which you can click and then show the navigation. So this is for mobile development, and well, I thought I'd show this on the video as well. So now outside of this navbar header, which is down here, I want to open another div with a class of navbar collapse, and navbar responsive collapse. Awesome. Oh, by the way, in here, below the button, I want to add a anchor tag, so a link, which I'm going to route the same way as we did the form thingies in the login and register, just using the URL route method to home. And this would be a class of navbar brand, which is going to be Laravel forum software. Okay, now in here go the links. UL, so an unordered list, and inside them we want to have, for each link, we want a list item with an anchor to the routes. So again, since this is going to be home, routes home, and make sure to close that anchor tag and give it a name. And now outside of this UL, I want to create another UL, so another unordered list with a class of nav, navbar, nav, and navbar right. Now nav and navbar nav, these also have to go on this one. And in here I am going to use Blade again, and now I'm going to show you how to check if somebody's logged in. It's very simple. If auth check. If this is true, then they're logged in. If not, then they're not. So, and if. So if somebody's not logged in, I want to show them a link tag with inside it an anchor tag, which leads them to the register page. URL route get create to register, and copy that over and get login to login. Simple. And do we have to do something else outside of this? Nope, I don't believe so. So now I'm going to show you how to add. No, I'm going to first see if this works. So, in the home page, yes, we got our navigation here, and here is our nav bar, of course. And then when you hover over a link, you get this nice hover effect. Now, Bootstrap adds a navbar class called active. If you add that to the list item with the current page, so active. Okay, maybe not. Is that not the way to go about that? Huh. Oh well, never mind then. I will go into that later. So, now, let's see if this all works. Oh, and of course, we want to make sure if they're not logged in, show these links, else. If they're logged in, then don't. So, yeah. Now these links are up here as well. So, let's first open up, not localhost, just localhost. Let's open up PHP and remove that user entry that we made before in the previous video. Delete. Yes. Now register. Awesome. What did I do? Unexpected variable make. Make. Okay. This is in user controller on line 50. User controller, line 50, validator is equal to new validator make. Did I maybe type that incorrect? Probably did. No, I didn't. Validator equals a new validator make input all. What? Validator make input all array. Why is that? Okay, let me figure this out and I will be right back with you. Stupid error. No new, just validator make. So validator equals validator make, not new validator. Now, reload page, works fine. So, username and a password, which is going to be password, and hit enter to register. I have successfully registered. Let's check that. Awesome. Now, let's hope that this works. That's not the correct username. Oh well, this might just work. There. See, entered wrong credentials. Please try again. Okay. Now real credentials and log in, and I'm logged in. Let's see if this works in here as well. When you go to resources, cookies, localhost. Okay, no, that's not really able to see. So this is our user software or user system for now. From the next video, I'm going to really start with the forum aspect of the series, which is what this is all about. And I hope to see you then.